basically creating real things in a digital world. So what is CAD? Well, technically it's called computer-aided design, which basically just means building a digital model. You have some napkin sketch of some great idea that you have for an awesome new sports car or widget, and then you go into a computer and you basically design that widget as if it was a piece of clay that you mold in front of you with your hands, only you do it inside of a computer. So imagine you're an inventor. You've just got this great new idea. 20 years ago, what you would have had to do was go to some draftsman who would take your idea, take your napkin sketches, you would explain it to him in as infinite a detail as you could, and he would slowly but surely design the piece of equipment that you're thinking of by creating 3 different views, side, top, and bottom. And he would try to keep the 3D model in his head and communicate it out on paper. And if you were doing anything complex like an airplane, you would have hundreds of these guys working in a big old office building, designing the screws and the nuts and bolts and everything else. So it was incredibly laborious. Then those designs would be sent back to you and you would create the prototype, which most of the time would probably fail because you forgot to mention that there was a particular type of screw, or they used the wrong kind of metal, or some other kind of silly mistake, or maybe you just didn't like the way it looked when it all came out. So you spent a huge amount of time and money creating something that you really just didn't want because you couldn't visualize it very well. But today, if you have a napkin sketch that you want to work with, all you have to do is go online, download any number of different softwares, and then you can go into a computer and sculpt your model the way you want it. You can adjust sizes, you can change the materials that it has, you can play with it all you want to create what you imagine and then actually test it. CAD lets you create very complex parts for any kind of machines that you can imagine. You could design something for a video game, or you can design an actual real-world product. And while you're doing it, you keep track of all the little pieces. While you're designing it, you see where the washers and the tiny screws go. And as you add them in, they're added to the list of parts to buy when you actually want to build it. When you're all done and you want somebody to actually build it, you only have to have a few clicks before you have the actual drawings with all the dimensions on them, so that a machine shop or your cousin or whoever is going to build this thing knows how to build it. And it will turn out exactly the way you designed it, and you can see it in 3D on your computer. But in addition to that, you don't ever want to build anything without knowing how it's going to react when you use it. So CAD has given us all the ability to test machines and see where they will break and how they will move, if they will move at all, and test different materials, see how fast they move. Basically create the machine inside the computer, see how it's going to work before you even build it in the real world, which is an incredibly useful ability. But it also just helps when working in a team. You're able to share the design with someone, and instead of them using a red marker to show you where the bad areas are, they maybe make the edit themselves and send it back to you. Or even when making edits, it's really easy to take a pipe on that bike in this picture and make it a ½ an inch wider. So edits are much quicker, and sharing and working together on these projects is much quicker and easier than a bunch of guys in a room with pencils and rulers. And of course, once you have a 3D model of whatever it is you want to build, if you want an actual model of it that afternoon, you just have to upload those files to a 3D printer and it will print out whatever you wanted. So CAD is an incredibly powerful tool for creating something from nothing. All you have to do is put in a little bit of time and you will have basically a prototype that investors could give you money to build, or just something to test and see how it'll work. All right, that's the overview, guys, for Autodesk Inventor. I hope I'll see you at the next video where we will start going over how to actually use the software to create something that didn't exist 5 minutes ago.